I love your home already, and I haven't even seen it. Does that sound crazy? It's not. When we improve our surroundings, we simultaneously empower ourselves, which means every inch of space within your reach right now is an opportunity to tell the story you want to be living. Tell me that's not its own kind of wonderful. I have spent the last 15 years consulting clients and their homes through the wisdom of Feng Shui, intentional design, and some crystal clear communication. And you know what happens when you bring those three together? Life-changing magic. Your home is already in a conversation with you, so why not learn how to merge that awareness with some simple, straightforward, and smart action to co-create the life you want? I'm Amanda Gibby Peters, and I am here to help you learn how. Welcome to House Therapy. Okay, it's that time again to reach into the inbox, read your cues, and get my A's on them. And like every one of these episodes, the questions today are going to make for a fab learning sesh and conversation. Now, before we get this party started, if you have a cue that you want to ask, all you got to do is send it to amanda@simpleshui.com. That's amanda@simpleshui.com with podcast cue or podcast question in the subject line. And listen, if it's one that I can answer here well, it will be added to the list. And on that note, let's hopscotch our way through a little bit of shui. All right, question 1. Love your podcast, and I'm hoping you will answer this question in one of your Q&A episodes. Voila! What are optimal colors and shapes to decorate the outside of your front door with? And does it matter which direction your door faces? I so look forward to Tuesdays when I get to feel the shui through your podcast when I drive home from school drop-off. So thank you so much for listening to the podcast, and yay for letting me spend a little of that reprieve with you. All right, so the shape question is a little more technical, so I'm going to jump ahead into the color my front door cue. And I have 3 answers that I typically give when I'm asked this question. My first and favorite choice for front door color is a color you love. When you love it, that is the energy equivalent of whatever it is you're trying to call to your front door and inviting into your life. So honestly, I don't know how you outdo that. So say it with me. If you love it, you win. My next suggestion is that if you're not sure what you love, go for a color that looks good on you. Style the door how you would style or dress yourself. And if you're still not sure, then do something bold and pick a hue or color that stands out from the rest of the house. Remember, energy, chi, prosperity, auspicious luck, abundance, all of those things, it follows the eye. And nothing says, hello, honey, come right this way, quite like a flashy door. Now, if you want to choose a color that aligns with the direction your door faces, here's a quick beginner's breakdown of those options. So if you are north facing, you can go for black or inky colors. And when I say inky, what I mean is those dark colors that look like they have a touch of black ink in them. So like your hunter green, your navy blue, the charcoal, you get the idea. If you are northeast facing, go for dark muted blues. If you are east facing, spring or bright greens are definitely calling you. If you are southeast facing, any colors associated with royalty will really revel here. So think gemstone colors and you're going to be on the right trail. If you are south facing, hello to that red door. If you are southwest facing, anything muted pink or along the neutral tone spectrum would be a wonderful match. If you are west facing, this opens the door for the light and white palette. And if you're northwest facing, you could totally dial up a gray door. Now, I don't like to do complicated here, but I will tell you this. The color selection available is a little more versatile than what I just explained, especially if you want to go with this last option, which is the direction facing option. So the facing direction is usually associated with one of the 5 elements. And so the color mentioned is aligned with the element that is most at home with that direction. So for instance, the north is associated with the element water. So the colors I mentioned are also considered representations of water. However, you can also use the element that fuels the element most at home. And I know we're getting a wee bit high level here, so stay with me. In this example, it means that metal is the element that fuels water. So you can also work with any of the colors that are associated with the element metal. Now, the 5 elements are something I explain in my Shui time videos over on my Simple Shui site. They're free, so you can definitely check out and learn more there. And we definitely dive deeper into the 5 elements in my course. So if this is something that really interests you, I'd invite you to check out one or both of those spaces. All right, but to answer your last cue, does it matter which direction your door faces? And my answer is not to me. See, I want you to love what the front of your home is serving up. And if a gray door is the best color for you based on the direction you're facing, but it makes you feel meh, I wouldn't dream of backing you into that corner. So go with what you love and it will pay off big time, I promise. All right, question 2. You mentioned using salt to clean a room's energy and then disposing of the salt within 24 hours. I have a Himalayan sea tea light candle holder that I love, but I am now wondering, has it absorbed bad energy? And if it has, should I get rid of it? This is such a great question. And I don't typically worry about the tea light candle holders or even the Himalayan sea salt lamps absorbing chi the same way because you have light involved. And light is an expression of fire. And fire is going to kind of burn off that chi, right? However, because I've just now stepped into Himalayan salt lamps, I'm going to tell you something that I do know that I occasionally come across. And that is, if you have Himalayan sea salt tea light candle holders or a lamp, and you're working with or leaving them on all the time, it may feel sometimes like you're parched. And this isn't a one-size-fits-all suggestion or warning or even tip, okay? It's more in the category of good to know and be mindful of suggestion, right? So salt draws and dries out things. And so when we have these things, quote unquote, on all the time, or we work with them when we're in the middle of a particularly draining situation, then it could be that that object, whether it's the candle holder or the lamp, could become more of a culprit than a chi enhancer. So you just want to work with it with that awareness, turning it off or maybe not lighting the candles when necessary, and you're totally good to go. All right, question 3. Amanda, I really enjoy listening to your podcast and I'm making my way through your book. I love the differences I'm experiencing by changing the type and flow of chi in my home. My question is this: what ways should I apply Feng Shui to my travels? I'm currently on vacation with my family and we're staying in a hotel, and I'm curious, how could I make this temporary living situation work better for us? So again, I'm so glad that you're experiencing the changes that come from doing a little Shui adjusting here and there, so definitely keep it up. And not all the suggestions that I'm about to share will apply or be something that you even can do. But here is sort of what I grab and go with when I'm working with jet setting or road warrior clients. So 1, if you can, open the windows, or if there's a sliding glass door, open that and air out the room. And if you can't, take a cleansing spray with you. I travel with one just to clear the air wherever I go. Now, Eucalyptus is particularly effective for this, but so is cedar, tobacco. There's so many fabulous options. And I actually am sharing a few of my favorite vendors in the show notes who have travel size sprays just for this. So be sure to check those out. The second thing I recommend is playing some music. And this is just a really easy way to disrupt and uproot any stagnant or lingering low vibe chi. It's even fantastic if the room has been sitting empty for a while. You kind of want to wake that yin energy up and get it more yang. The third suggestion, unplug anything you're not using. So this one is more if you're going to be somewhere for a while. Hotel rooms tend to be on the smaller side of our normal living spaces. So this one is just a great way to eliminate any unnecessary electrical pollution. My fourth suggestion, if you're going to be doing any sort of work in the space, see if you can't sit in command position. Now, sometimes that suggestion is going to require a little furniture shuffling. Finally, I really love to just bring in something fresh, like fresh flowers or fruit, because those are usually the easiest to pick up, place in the room, and then discard when you go. Okay, question 4. Let me say I've become a big fan of your podcast, and I really dig every episode so much that I've listened to pretty much every episode multiple times. I am a new mom, and I left my full-time job to stay at home at the end of 2022. And in an attempt to refocus our household energy and help me in this big transition, I searched for Feng Shui podcasts and found you. Love that. Feng Shui was always on my list of things I've been curious about and knew it would be, quote unquote, so me if I had a chance to study it. Your podcast has become the vehicle of delivery for just that. I love popping in my earbuds and cruising around with the stroller and listening to your tips and tricks. I look forward to every Tuesday now for your latest episode. Thank you for what you're doing. All right, so she goes on to share a success story, and I'm actually going to share that with you because there is something that she's captured here so perfectly that I want to use her words instead of mine. All right, so she continues on. After implementing many small tweaks around our home since the new year and feeling tiny little wins, I decided a month or so ago that I wanted to specifically focus on my husband's office as sort of a gift to help him in a transitional career period of his own. He's been pushing full speed ahead with lots of success, but also had a few major roadblocks that were uncharacteristic to his typical workflow. Now, I never wanted to touch his office out of respect for his space, but realized I could gently offer my newfound knowledge, thank you, house therapy, and make some minor tweaks that could make some big magic changes for him. He was lacking the time, direction, and focus to do these simple things himself. So by me articulating and us agreeing on what I would do for him specifically, I found not only that he didn't mind me helping in his space, but he actually super appreciated it. So we took things slow. Changes included moving his desk to command position, a major closet cleanup, decluttering in general. Last night, we finished putting up the bookshelf, which I immediately styled, and finished putting things in their new home around the room and added a new plant to his credenza that he chose earlier that day. And I'm not kidding, within a few hours, maybe even the same hour, he made an important connection and confirmed next steps on a call in his freshly shuied office, and he is feeling so relieved and happy. He was raving about how big this specific step was for him. I called out the coincidental timing, and I have a strong suspicion I've gained mountains of support for my new hobby from my hubby. Okay, fangirl rant over. My question is this. So now here's the question she asked. How do I interpret the bagua for a wide but not deep multi-level home? We have a 1960s tri-level. All right, now to avoid any confusion and for privacy's sake, I'm not going to read the layout she shared, but essentially there are rooms in the east, northeast, southeast, the north and south, the west, southwest, and northwest. Okay, so back to her question. So that gives me 8 areas instead of 9, and it's not exactly a tic-tac-toe division since 4 are stacked. Is there any advice you have for navigating and interpreting this? All right, podcast cue and note over. So before I answer your question, I first want to say thank you. This is absolutely a lovely note to be the recipient of, and I am genuinely grateful for every word and detail that you shared. Secondly, I love and want to emphasize your experience because this really is a blueprint of what Shui can and usually does feel and look like. It's the process that so many of my clients and students understand and go through when working with me. It's not like working with Feng Shui creates lottery wins, although I'm going to always leave that possibility on the table. There aren't really any shortcuts, but when the wins come, they feel just as exhilarating. And the changes we make do create momentum that continue delivering results. So the pacing that you shared here, it really is just everything for me. All right. So now I'm going to try to answer your question, and I'm afraid it might not hit the exact spot because it's hard to know how to answer this without seeing your space. So I'm going to give you 3 thoughts that I'm having. My first inclination is to tell you to go to the 4 corners of the house and draw an X, like mark each corner of the house and then draw an X. And where that X intersects is your center. And I'm assuming your center is what is quote unquote missing because it's the one area or direction that is not mentioned in your description. Another way to treat this, and this is for anyone who feels like their home doesn't agree with the bagua placement, is to work the bagua off the living room itself. Now, let me just quickly say, the bagua is an easy map to apply to most homes, but when it doesn't sit elegantly or easily on a space, because not all homes are square or rectangular or even immediately bagua friendly, it's easier to start small, get some confidence, and work your way up to then interpreting it for your house. So the living room is a room I will pivot to in my own consults if any of the home is off limits to me. Say a teenager's room sits in love and relationships, or say there's another family member who's living in the house who's not really feeling open to any sort of Feng Shui suggestions or shifts in their space. I will work off the living room as the motherboard. So it is really perfect for its own bagua reading and any Shui adjustments and remedies. And you essentially work with it just like you do on your home. You will line up the bottom of the map with whatever the entry point is into the living room. If there are multiple entry points, choose the one that is worked with or used the most. And if you still can't decide which one to choose, then go with the one that guests or people who come into your home would use most naturally. All right. The third suggestion I have for you is every room also has a center, right? So if when you mention you have 8 areas and not 9, and I'm interpreting the email correctly, that the center is the one that's missing, take advantage of any of the rooms in your house that favor a little center or core zhuzh. So this could be fresh flowers on a coffee table in the middle of the room, or a crystal chandelier hanging from the middle of a dining room, or even clearing out clutter from a space that sits in the middle of a room. Okay, I hope that helps. And on that note, I hope you all loved what you learned today. And listen, be sure to check out my blog, my courses, and the Q&As that happen within that course container every month. These conversations that we have here are a peek into what's happening over there, because in those conversations, we can have that back and forth dialogue. So if you're ready, or when you're ready to wade in a little deeper, just know I would love to have you. Thanks for sending your questions. Keep them coming. And I hope you all have a fabadab week. And that's our episode, my loves. Thank you so much for listening. Be sure to head over to simpleshui.com if you're craving a bigger serving of house love. And if you like what you're hearing, I hope you follow and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. And if you love what you're learning, will you leave me a review? Your note will totally make my day and help even more people find the show. Have a fabulous day, and I can't wait to meet you back here next week.